All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, Donald Trump is gaining more momentum ever since the humiliating Biden debate, as you know, that took place Thursday. We are still talking about it. Now, 4 years ago, we talked about the first debate, and everyone talked about how Trump kept interrupting. Well, that was done in 40 hours. It's still going on. This is the third day. We are still talking about this debate because it's not about how you performed in the debate. It's the realization of who is driving the bus. And you look over and you see the bus drivers driving the bus while asleep. And it doesn't have to be a bus driver. It could be a driver in general or just a plane. He's just driving. So and so's driving a vehicle asleep, unconscious, unaware. And we are going through lots of damage, a lot of traffic, a lot of head on collusion. And the person that's driving is asleep. So we just realized that a few days ago. Not the whole country didn't really realize that because thanks to the media going, oh, the Republicans are sheep faking. Like the word sheep fake has become a very well known word thanks to the foolish, idiotic, uh, idiotic rhetoric of the media and the Democratic Party. And because of that, people are like, oh yeah, Joe Scarborough, Joy Reid, Whoopi Goldberg, The View, Joy Behar. I think you're wrong. And a lot of people believe the cheap fake stuff. Oh, you straight out fat out lied to us. And more now, people are realizing, oh, the media is actually not nonpartisan, it's actually the opposite. It is partisan. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, PBS, CBS, all these weird cult letter words, I swear, all these left-wing lunatics love to put letters into everything. You have LGBT, BLM. I'm getting out of track though, but the point is, all these networks, they claim they're nonpartisan. They claim they're centrist. You know who else claimed they're centrist and moderates? Vladimir Lenin from Russia. His Bolshevik and Red Army proclaimed that they were centrists, enlightened centrists, enlightened thinkers. And they compare themselves to the American Revolution. And everyone cried BS. And everyone's like, BS. We know it is BS. Because essentially what the communists and Bolsheviks did in Russia was kill the royal family. I mean, the Patriots in the American Revolution didn't kill King George III. I mean, let's be honest. There have been maybe some people there were radical Yankees that wanted George dead, but they couldn't fly over. It's not really worth to go over there and hire an assassin. The whole point of the American Revolution is to achieve a land of freedom and to, as you know, establish the democracy we had today. And guess what? The 4th of July is coming up. So perfect time, perfect day to talk about this very important stuff. So yes, compared to the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, very similar radical revolutions that were launched by radical so-called centrists. They both call themselves enlightened centrists, and they go to the extreme measures as of killing the leaders of the country and as purging and eliminating the population that disagrees with them. And we're supposed to believe they're enlightened centrists. The left-wing media is taking on the roots of the far left historically. Okay, this is the left wing. The left wing is notorious for making themselves look good by proclaiming them as centrists. This is essentially the whole history. There is not one revolution or one left wing takeover that has like the leader of that or the coup leaders proclaimed that they weren't enlightened centrists. Mao Zedong proclaimed he was an enlightened centrist. Pol Pot declared himself an enlightened centrist. Muammar Gaddafi proclaimed himself an enlightened centrist. Saddam Hussein proclaimed himself an enlightened centrist. And today we have Kim Jong-un, an enlightened centrist. Xi Jinping, an enlightened centrist. Bashar al-Assad, enlightened centrist. It's just ridiculous. Fidel Castro, an enlightened centrist. Ho Chi Minh said he was an enlightened centrist. This is the bull that gets people on the left. We are enlightened centrists, and anything that is mean and racist, and anyone who tells you what to do, they're far right and dictator, and they're acting like the left wing themselves did nothing wrong, and that's destructive theory. And essentially, I am getting off a topic of what this video is about, and this is about Trump gaining momentum and just basically the whole Democrat Party agenda falling apart. And I'm going to say it anyway because this needs to be talked about. This needs to be talked about because people keep forgetting. I had one person comment on me on social media. They were like, oh, the left does nothing wrong. This is a left-wing revolutionary trying to convince me that the left did nothing wrong. And I had fun with her, and I went through the whole entire history of the left wing. And the whole entire history was filled with violent coups, revolutions, and guess what? Genocide. You can thank the Cambodian genocide for that. Pol Pot. You can thank Saddam Hussein from Iraq for kidnapping American hostages. Muammar Gaddafi literally beating his own people on the streets of Tripoli. And then you have Assad allegedly gassing his own people. And you're supposed to tell me that there is nothing wrong about the left wing? There's nothing wrong. I mean, let's be honest, guys. The 21st century has been a problem of left-wing supremacy than actually fascism. Yes, arguably, World War II was probably the biggest event of the 21st century. 20th century, excuse me. Let's be completely honest. But how many years of fascism were there in 21st century? Essentially, no more than 20 years. And it ended like that. And guess what happened? For 40 years, communism was the deal. Okay? Communism. And the generation that is fading away, the traditional older American generation, they saw the dangers of communism. They saw the dangers of radicalism. And that's why we were so afraid of it. The Red Scare. There were two Red Scares. The Red Scare after the aftermath of the Russian Civil War, the establishment of the Soviet Union, and there was the Red Scare after World War II. The Joseph Stalin establishing communist states in Eastern Europe, and eventually communist revolutions in North Korea and Vietnam. We were panicking. So, and now we have this generation, the younger American generation, was born in the late 90s, 9 years after the Cold War. And even so, if you were born in the 80s, the severities were not the same as if you were born in the 50s. You would have there would be a stark, complete difference. The 80s was a cooling period. Okay? You couldn't even call it a Cold War. You could barely call it a Cold War anymore. And then finally, 90s. And yeah, so the left-wing Democrat Party is filled with late 1990 millennials, or whatever you want to call them. And then you have the older American Democrat Party, the older Americans in the Democrat Party, they are traditionally boomers from the 60s, anti-Vietnam War protesters. And guess what? They now support war because it fits the left-wing narrative agenda. We have to give all our money to other countries like Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan or Guyana if it ever gets invaded by Venezuela. It's not even an issue, but I can guarantee you it will be a big issue in the future. But yeah. But anyway, Trump is gaining momentum. I wonder why. Because it took a debate. Over half of the American population was watching that debate. I'm glad they were. By now, it's been talking about so much. Everyone knows about the debate performance of Joe Biden. Everyone knows that, yeah, Joe Biden's not fit to serve. We have seen TikToks, Instagram posts of Biden supporters coping. One Biden supporter said that she couldn't get any sleep, 2 hours of sleep, because she couldn't bear the fact that people were telling Joe Biden to step off the stool and people not telling Trump to step off. In her mind, the convicted felon that was convicted over stuff that people care less about should have been kicked off immediately. But Republicans, as you know, are loyal to Trump. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. The reality is, the reason why Republicans are so loyal to Trump, Republicans are not party over country. It is country over party. And in order to make the country great, they see Donald Trump. And if Trump didn't make the economy great like he did during his tenure in office, and he didn't combat foreign insurgencies and extending the détente to Russia and China, I can guarantee you people wouldn't be that enthusiastic for Trump. But the Republican Party loves the success of this country. Unlike the Democrats would rather support an insurrection. They love the January 6th insurrection. They love it. They support it. They love it. It was music to their ears. They would rather that happen than our country actually being successful. They would rather see other countries be successful, third world countries to be exact, and even countries that hate us, that literally hate us and want to blow us up, like Iran, Syria. Yeah. They'd rather see them succeed. And their mission is to turn America into a third world country, because once again, the left, this is far left rhetoric. The idea is white evangelical men who oppressed minority groups, any minority group in the United States, even though it's gotten better, we can't never forgive them. In fact, we gotta make them feel what we feel. That said, they want to kind of reverse the car. They want the white man, the white straight male, to be enslaved and discriminated against. They want not just that, but the country in general, because the left reminds us that Americans killed Native Americans, expanded imperially across the Panama Canal into Mexico, Cuba, the Mediterranean. They keep reminding us that. And in order to make justice served, we have to hold those related racially, not just racially, but inherently the American people in general accountable. That's why we are advocating for a country. We're pushing the country to have an economic fall, having illegal immigrants storm this country through the wall and through the border, So the as you know, not just so the Democrats get more votes. Yeah, that's one reason. That's very one reason. But it's just so crime can go up. They want Venezuela to have no crime, right? Because that destroys the narrative that Latin American countries or countries that are Hispanic are ethnically crime. And we know that's not always the case. There are a lot of Hispanic countries that don't have crime. But a lot of countries, most countries with the Hispanic, Latino majority, do have crime. And if that's a fact. And if I say that fact, it's racist. So apparently, facts are racist. And back then, it was never racist. Facts were never racist. It was a fact. Racists are usually opinions. And not just opinions. Bigoted and racist is two different things, in my opinion. Racist is extreme. Like, you'd go out of your way to make someone suffer because of their race. That is racism. Because you said a word that was controversial towards a group, that doesn't mean you're a racist. Come on. And we're going to go do whatever we can to make that person suffer. We're going to make him lose his job. We're going to make him lose the ones he loves, lose his job, lose his education, possibly get him arrested for anything. We're going to make his life horrible because he said the word that we didn't want to hear. You're going to hurt our feelings. Oh, boo-hoo. This is how weak the left is. They hurt their feelings. A strong, capable person would walk away and care less. But instead, you have to go up, act all big and tough with your tears coming out, and you go and screaming accusations of racism, and then you go out of your way to make sure this person goes viral and all. Yeah, this is a left-wing woke revolutionary garbage, and people are realizing it. People are realizing it. But yes, our video is about to be concluded. But before we end this video, I want to talk more about polls. So yes, there has been a poll released, basically from the Biden-Trump said general election, not the I guess there was a 5-point election poll, I believe. But yes, you'll see Trump leads by 1.9. Yesterday, he was leading by 1.8. How is that so? Well, I personally think it could be because of Survey USA. I think this poll was released. Okay, maybe that was a tabulation error from RCP. They redid the math. But yes, that does make sense because yesterday, yes, it was at 1.8. I don't know if they decided to give Trump, redo the math in favor for Trump, but yes, he's up at 1.9. And if he goes 1 point higher, then he's at 2 points. And that is great. We also reviewed yesterday that Trump's best performance was late January. That was thanks to the Iowa caucus. The Iowa caucus was enough to get Trump up to 4 points. Wow. Imagine how much percentage points he would get from Joe Biden's blundering debate. I would ideally see him go up past 4 points. Well, I mean, it really does depend because then again, he hasn't released his running mate. And typically, when the president, as you know, the challenger to the president or anyone announces their running mate, they have a boost in the polls because once again, there's people that say, "Oh, the running mate's so and so. I like that person. I think I'm going for the campaign. This person's campaign." Okay, there's a good amount of people, and there's people that say, "Oh, I don't like so and so. I'm not going to vote for them." Yeah, and that's more of a small majority because the so-and-so vice president is not the center of the campaign and never is supposed to be the center of the campaign. And if he is, he never should be the vice president because he's not running for president. He's running for vice president under the same ticket as the candidate for president. So really, Trump needs to pick, I need to pick someone who's popular, but not too popular, who's going to steal the show from me. Why do we not want to choose someone who's too popular? Well, essentially it helps you in the election, allegedly, but like, for example, Mike Pence. Mike Pence was more liked by the liberals and more moderates compared to Donald Trump in his 4 years of office. I'm sure he had a low approval rating once in a while, but in the end of the day, Pence is favored by the establishment when they don't charge him. They don't charge him for election denial, election fraud, because at the beginning, Pence denied the election results. He said, hey, this race is not over. I remember him saying that 4 years ago. This race is not over. He posted that and tweeted that. But when he started to get criticized about it, he twisted his legs and supposedly he doesn't even have a tail, but he twisted his legs and folded over and said, oh, I'm sorry. I will recognize the election results. And then again, and the Democrats, and as a result, cheered and said, hooray, hooray, Pence, you're a good person now. Because you folded over to us. But yeah. And suddenly January 6th happens, and now Mike Pence is on the other team saying, bad Trump, bad, bad, bad. And you're like, dude, yeah. You know what? You're technically in office when January 6th happened. We could be, we could go as far as saying you had something to do with it, but we're not going to do that because Pence bended over and folded backwards. And if the Democrats accuse him of this and indict him or convict him of it, he could go back to Trump. They don't want to risk that. They want to have him on the Rhino team with George Bush, Mitt Romney, John McCain, who's deceased, but we're going to add him in there anyway. They want him to put him on the Rhino train. Don't go back on the MAGA train. Don't go back on the Trump train. No. Welcome to the Rhino team. So, very interesting talk tonight. We talked a lot about just the general election in general. I want to see, before we end, the 5-way national polls. I believed there was a 7-point. Yes, Rasmussen reports 10-point victory for Trump. That's a blowout, straight out blowout. So yes, you'll see. Trump obviously has the advantage. A lot of people said, oh, if Kennedy gets a lot of votes, Trump's done. No, actually, it's quite the opposite. If Kennedy gets votes, it benefits Trump because like I said yesterday, you got to remember how many moderates went out to vote for Biden. That's how he got 81 million votes. You apparently said 90%, 80 to 70% of moderates went for Joe Biden. It was definitely a double-digit margin of moderates. And those moderates would vote against Trump again, but there is one problem. The current president, they also don't like. A lot of moderates will not sit down and say which one's best. Biased moderates that are severely Trump deranged will pick Biden. But actual moderates, they say, I don't know, they would most likely go for Kennedy. Those actual moderates, the majority of actual moderates did vote for Biden. I would say roughly 60 to 50% or 59% of them voted for Biden in 2020. But what you want is them to go to Kennedy, because we don't want those moderates to go back to Biden. Because if Biden wins the moderate vote, he wins the election. And we don't want him to win the election, right? No. And it's looking like Trump's doing pretty good, but there's a reason why he's down to 42%. There's not enough moderates going to the Trump campaign. There's a reason why he's at 42%. General election, he's at a better position, 46%. He's essentially gained back, I would say, his lead, his official 2020 results. But then again, that's basically essentially all the whole moderates are all tossed up. We have a whole bunch of moderates. They are all tossed up. We don't know what they're gonna or how they're gonna vote, and essentially look like this till November, because I can guarantee you they can't. Oh, not all of them, and I can tell you, definitely not all of them are going to pick Trump or Biden. They're going to either stay home or they're just going to vote for Kennedy or some other third party. So that's why I'm advocating that, you know what, it'd be best if we don't get our hopes on it, but we look at a 5-way race. A lot of people say, oh, there's no way Kennedy's getting past 5%. There's no way Kennedy's getting 1%. I disagree. I think he's going to get past 1%. Come on, guys. He has made himself a figure in, let's just say, politics. He's way more financed than West and Stein. So I would say, you know what? Let's settle on 3 to 4%. Okay? That to be more realistic. But then again, 7% would be nice. And that would give Trump a 2.9 win. But yes, you want Kennedy to do well. And the Democrats are, and the strategists, even Republican strategists, are saying no. And the thing is, that's because we saw a small record of voters go for Kennedy that came from Trump. A small record. I can guarantee you that's not going to be as much as the moderate vote. Kennedy will be appealing to moderates. Period. He will not be appealing to the far left. He will not be appealing to the far right or the conspirators, like the left likes to tell us. He will be appealing to the moderates. Period. They're going to go for him because records do tell us that Trump and Biden are unlike. As of right now. Further on, we'll see who's more liked. But we got to look at the moderates. They're the ones that decide the election. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you all in the next political episode.